lot of really good new ways to work on and improve what we're doing in terms of assessment, in terms of the way that we deliver material. I think it's kind of infected me a little bit. Ideas that I know are good, but I don't know how to necessarily implement.
The current practices are not authentic, and they're penalizing most of the students in our classrooms because they don't truly reflect what their learning has been.
Having kids given effort and perseverance and grit in their learning doesn't always match up with grades, and at the end 3 times a year we give report cards and say you're an A student, you're a B student, and the rest of the year we tell kids we want you to work hard, we want you to fight through challenges, we want you to be lifelong learners, and that doesn't align perfectly with how we grade when we give out report cards.
Because I'm an English teacher, I find that assessment is basically what I spend a lot of my time doing. I've got to find some strategies to make my life a little bit easier, but also to provide meaningful feedback to my students in order for them to feel a little bit more accomplished as writers. And I learned this amazing strategy from, it was Tom Schwimmer, who said, why are you correcting all the work for them? Why are you doing all the editing and giving it back to them? Because they're not learning anything from that. You are the one doing all the learning. And I realized that was my big aha moment.
What I would like to be able to do, and is in progress, is to be able to give better feedback faster to students and parents in a continuous manner, so a parent never has to call me or write to say, how's my child doing?
Assessment typically happens at the end of something, and so if you really focus on how you assess, what you assess, that can inform everything. And if you start really examining some more appropriate or more meaningful ways, or ways that can inform student learning better, then it changes your practice too. It changes the teaching. So it's kind of like working backwards, and to hopefully create more meaningful kind of learning strategies and teaching strategies for the students.
The thing that I'm most passionate about is probably the descriptive feedback aspect of it all. At my school, which I work one-on-one with students, a lot of what is done is conversation right in the moment, and that immediate feedback for kids who are strugglers is unequivocally the best support that they can get. The students aren't balking and not having a mark or anything, and so then we can go on to whatever the final assessment is. With math, it's primarily tests, but it is just the conduit to the cumulative activity.
One of the things I'm trying to do now is to make more links with what's on the test, what's on the quiz, and what we taught, and what the learning outcomes were for that unit, so that when they look at it, they can see, you know, if they struggled, okay, I struggled with these 2 things. I don't have to restudy all of chapter 5. These are the 2 areas, and I see in my notes that refers to section 5.1. I can also see fairly quickly where they're struggling at. So I don't have to say, you know, a parent comes into parent-teacher night and says, you know, how's Joey doing? And well, he's sitting at 62%. I've done that a lot, and I don't like it. It'll be easier for me to say that Joey is struggling with how to factor quadratic equations instead of Joey struggling with chapter 4, or he's sitting at 62. I can give more accurate feedback to the kids and to the parents about what it is that they need to work on and get better at, and then find a way to reassess them afterwards. And the reassessment part doesn't need to be a whole chapter 4 test again. Could be, but it doesn't have to be, and it could be a conversation, it could be a quiz, it could be a number of different things.
Looking at doing more check-ins and little bits of information in multiple assessments on the same thing, and then if one assessment could maybe replace another one. Maybe if I can have it where they didn't understand a concept and they did an assignment, didn't do well on it, have an alternate that they could do.
Something that a lot of the teachers at the school have been working on is working on their rubrics a little bit to communicate student achievement a little bit more authentically.
Reaching for assessment rather than just being assessed, so they know exactly everything's transparent, what they're aiming for. And I think that's, it's not something that I've held back before, but I have not made as a parent as I am now. So everybody knows, okay, this is what I want to shoot for, and how am I going to get there?
The one that I'm trying to get my head around still is really moving fully to a based approach to teaching and to assessment. How do we break those competencies down to intentions that are going to support student learning in a really clear and meaningful way? For me, that is the biggest shift that we have to make, and there are parts of it that I think, yeah, we're really on track with that. We're doing some of those things really well already, and then other parts of it where I feel like we've got a lot of we've still got a way to go.
Without realizing I was going to do it, completely transformed my course. Instead of teaching units sequentially, 4 units basically, 4 courses essentially, I'm teaching all of them concurrently. I started each one staggered start. They're all going to finish at the same time. We talk about pairing science with English, pairing science maybe with math. It occurred to me, why don't we pair science with science? In my own course, we've got astronomy, which explains where atoms come from, chemistry, which shows their interactions. They're all interconnected. So I decided to just start teaching them concurrently. And I have been amazed at the amount of crossover. The students aren't confused about the fact that we're moving from back and forth through units. It may be the most revolutionary thing I've done in 25 years.
Trying to connect kids with their passions and getting students kind of, doing a lot more work that is meaningful to them and offers opportunities for them to demonstrate what they're very passionate about and what they've learned in ways that aren't the traditional kind of unit test or something like that. Some sort of a portfolio or example work or different ways to kind of share their learning.
We have students with amazing expressive talents that can embed in fine arts performance technical information about science and thereby make it available to people who are non-technical. I think there is a room and an incentive and even an imperative to explore these other ways, in many ways far more legitimate, for demonstrating learning.
There's a group of us who really want to start looking at how to reach those A students who are kind of just floating through and giving them chances to essentially come to a wall and have to work through it, because that's where the learning is going to happen.
How do we help teachers find the competencies as compared to the grades? That's my quest, I guess. That's what I'm after, is in terms of the big idea in supporting people that are wanting to try this and finding the other champions in the school on the topic and finding out ways of how can we share this and how do you expand it throughout the building or within a department.
I want to try like a mini attempt at a report card or an attachment that could go with the report card that reflects the things that we want it to do, rather than it just being a grade and a little mini comment. It's more meaningful, it's richer,
And all of a sudden, it becomes a learning moment.
What I hadn't really considered or done much of in 20 years was to assess somebody orally and have a conversation with them about what they know and what they don't know or don't understand. And the kids and the parents were super stoked about the fact that their child was able to demonstrate what they knew in a way that was different, that had always been problematic for them. And working with the people from the Saanich district affected the way that I do things, and I find myself more flexible in how I look at assessment. So that was good for me.
I think these things are important. I think they're timely. I think they're inevitable. We want to be close to the front of the wave. That wave's happening around the world. We want to be part of that. It's good for the kids. It's an exciting time to be in education. It's just absolutely essential.